guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So today I thought we'd do a slightly different type of video. So as you can see, I have gathered up a whole bunch of odds and ends, you know, consisting kind of stamps, printables, some book page, all different things. And I thought we'd have a look at kind of making a kit. So, or it's going to be a kind of mini kit really. So I'm just going to kind of pile all of these things over to one side. So what I thought we'd have a look at is, I don't know about you guys, but I have an absolute weakness for buying the 12x12 paper pads, and you know, I have done for years, so obviously I have a ton of them. So I thought we'd have a look at kind of making a kit from a 12x12 paper pad. So I've just dug out some papers just from you know, a 12x12 pad. And in fact, let's pull a pad in and kind of, you know, go through together. So this one, it's a recollections pad, just various different papers in here. Really loved the pad, obviously, when I bought it. And as you can see, you know, I haven't used a great deal of it. I think I've probably used, you know, near enough one sheet of every sheet that's been in here, but obviously that still leaves an awful lot that I haven't obviously touched or got around to using. So I thought what we'd do is just kind of go through making a kind of mini kit using one of these papers. So I was going to use this paper, but actually I think I'm going to kind of just swap and use this one. So yeah, that one, or even this one is quite nice. So get them both out and we'll kind of then decide. Oops. And I'll just move that pad to one side for a moment. Okay, so if we just decide which one we're going to use, obviously I'm just going to kind of check what types of bits and pieces that I've got here. I have got a whole variety because I don't know kind of how this kit's going to go yet. So I thought I'd just come on with lots and, you know, lots and kind of make our minds up from there. I think I'm going to go with the yellow because yellow is not a colour that I kind of naturally go to very often. So it might be quite fun to work with something really, really different. So let me just pile these up. So all I'm going to do is kind of straight away get cutting into my 12x12 paper. This is for a couple of reasons really, because I find that this is the easiest way to do it because it stops me kind of, you know, overthinking things too much. And obviously I'm straight away getting, you know, using the paper up before I can kind of change my mind. So if we kind of have a look. So what I might do is start by kind of cutting it down kind of roughly the middle. Obviously this isn't quite the middle, but you know, that's fine, it doesn't really matter. So then I'm not, you know, again, I'm not going to kind of overthink this or anything like that. I'm just going to kind of, you know, go for it. So I'm going to tear this one like that, and that would give us a little corner piece for a page. And obviously what that's left us with is an obvious top corner pocket. So again, we'll just cut across there. And then what I'm going to do is obviously neaten up that edge. So that's kind of two pieces there. And then this one, now let's just have a look and decide how we want this. So do we want it kind of just checking whether we've actually got enough to kind of make two little pieces? I think we probably have. So let's just cut that down like that. Cut that one across there. Oops. I have made a terrible job cutting that, I must say. Like that. Okay. So already we've got kind of four pieces. Just pop them to one side. So then we need to just decide what to kind of do with this one. So we could kind of do a folded piece. Obviously this is actually a bit wide and I should have done it with the narrower, you know, the slightly narrower one, but you know, it doesn't really matter. So if we just kind of fold it up here like that, and then I'm just deciding whether we're going to do this as a kind of envelope or a kind of fold out. So let's do it as a fold out, I think. So we'll just cut that here. Oops, like that. And then we'll just cut this one here. You know, just cutting the perforated kind of edge off of there. Okay, so obviously from that 12 by 12 page, we've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces there that we can kind of begin to kind of assemble and make a kit from. So what I'm going to do is, and I don't always have to do this, it depends on the thickness of the paper. Now, I wouldn't say that this is particularly thick. You know, to me, this feels quite flimsy. So I probably, you know, when it's not too thick, I like to just reinforce it a bit. So I've just got here beside me my encyclopedia vintage book pages. Going to tear out a few of those, just plain ones that I'm kind of not interested in using, that I can just kind of use to reinforce my pieces and just kind of make them a little bit more robust. So just pop them like that. So straight away we can just get kind of gluing a couple of these down. So I mean, you don't have to do this. I just personally kind of, you know, I don't feel like these are very thick. If the paper pad is thick, obviously I don't bother doing this. It's just that these seem, you know, much more papery rather than card. But equally, you know, I've had loads of paper pads in the past that are, you know, more than thick enough. And I haven't needed to do this. So, you know, kind of use your judgment really, whether you think it's kind of thick enough or whether it needs to be kind of thickened. So that's that one. And we'll glue this one down here. Oh, it's really muggy today. Yeah, I'm really kind of sweltering. It's not a nice day. It's not kind of sunny and nice, but it's just incredibly muggy. So very humid. We're not having a very good summer, I must say. Hoping it's going to improve, but no guarantees, obviously. So while that's kind of drying slightly, I'm just going to move it to one side while we glue a couple of the others down. So just get those two on here. And obviously, I mean, I'm just gluing this onto these book pages because the book pages aren't really too thick. So, you know, we're not going to kind of make this suddenly, you know, really, really stiff. It's going to still be kind of quite flexible. So that's that one. Just take this one. Okay. Come on, let's pop that down like that. Okay, and then we've just got one more that we want to kind of thicken up, which is just this one here. So just glue that one down there. Obviously we don't need to thicken up the flip out because obviously, you know, we want that to be flippy outy, you know, so that you can open that nice and easily. So we won't bother doing that with that. Okay, So I can move those book pages now out of the way. So if I just tear that one down, just to kind of make it a bit easier for working. Right, so now we can obviously get kind of trimming our pieces down to get working on them. So just going to trim, and just like I do with the tags, I kind of cut these in slightly so that, you know, if the glue's not gone to the edge, I'm now taking the, you know, the piece to the edge, if that makes sense. So, you know, the glue, it's unlikely to have gone right to the edge. So by doing that, we're just kind of getting into the edge. Oops. There we go. So I hope everyone's having a good day, doing some crafting and things. Trying to think what I've been up to recently. Well, the big news this week really is my son, my 16-year-old, he's having his school prom at the end of the week. So, and again, I don't know how I'm going to be uploading this video, so it might be that, you know, the prom might have been and gone by the time I actually upload this. But yeah, he's having his school prom. I mean, it's just shocking, isn't it, how quickly the time flies. You know, I can't believe he's 16. You know, it just seems like yesterday that he was just that that grizzling baby, and you kind of think, oh my gosh, is this ever going to end? And now already he's 16, so yeah, it's really kind of shocking. But anyway, he's going to the prom. So my dad, he's, you know, his granddad, my dad, he's got a Harley Davidson, and his Harley Davidson, actually, he's got a sidecar on his Harley Davidson, so it's kind of quirky. But he kind of, you know, I don't know whether belongs is the right word, but, you know, I'm just going to use that word. Belongs to a little gang. They're not a gang, obviously, but, you know, his motorbike club of Harley Davidson, you know, fanatics. So very kindly, you know, I mean, obviously we've kind of just made a little donation, but that's how my son's getting to the prom. So he's going obviously on my granddad's bike, on the back, not in the sidecar. And then a couple of his friends are going to go on a couple of the other bikes. So yeah, it's quite exciting. And yeah, hopefully they're all going to have a really good time. I'm a little bit worried about the weather because, as I say, it's not really turning out to be the greatest summer, and obviously, you know, nobody really wants to turn up on a motorbike if it's pouring with rain. So really keeping my fingers crossed that it's going to be nice. So I haven't got a kind of fallback plan really, you know, or we don't have a fallback plan, so I'm not quite sure how he's going to get there if he doesn't go on the Harleys. So yeah, I'm not quite sure, but anyway, we'll keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best. So, but yeah, that's the kind of big news going on for us, which that leads me on to, there's a film called Wild Hogs with John Travolta. It is hilarious. I don't know if people haven't seen them, but I've seen it. It's such a good film. Right, I'm just going to kind of, you know, go back to the pieces that we're kind of making. So I'm going to kind of do them a couple of pieces, you know, at a time. So I'm just going to move those pieces out of the way. Now, here, this is an A4 sheet, folded in half. So I just want to kind of check that this is going to fit on the A4 sheet, because as you can see, it's quite long. So, you know, I may have to just trim this one down slightly because, you know, it is kind of on the longish side. So that just kind of makes it slightly better fit, really. And then I'm just going to, you know, decorate it up. So I may just use a bit of stamping. So now, get my black stays on. Let me just have a look through my little bits and bobs here. Right. So can just do kind of a little bit of stamping. So I'm just going to see what bits I'm going to actually put on here. This is one of my little rose cameos. So I just cut round that. Yeah, Wild Hogs, that's what we were talking about. Oh, it's such a brilliant film. It's with John Travolta and, oh, I don't know, some other quite well-known actors. I think Tim Allen is in it and some other well-known people, but I wouldn't know their names. It's absolutely hilarious. It's quite old, probably 10 years old, something like that. But they're kind of bikers, you know, and but they're kind of middle-aged men, you know, just kind of out riding their bikes, and they go off on a kind of road trip. Oh my gosh, it's, I mean, actually all of ours, you know, the boys, my husband and my, you know, one of our favourite films. Not so sure about my daughter because, you know, some of the jokes possibly kind of go over her head, but it's such a funny, funny, funny film. So if you haven't seen that, it's really worth checking it out because, oh, it will have you in stitches. I'm sure that, you know, I don't think anyone could kind of watch it and not find it hilarious. It's just brilliant. Yeah, just a really, really, really fun, good film. So, and it's one of those films that actually kind of, it's a good, clean family film. You know, kind of there's not really kind of bad language in it. There's not kind of, you know, naughty kind of scenes in it or anything. It's just good, clean fun, you know, that everybody can really kind of get into and enjoy. And John Travolta, I mean, he's a brilliant actor anyway, isn't he? But he pulls the most hilarious faces in the whole film. He kind of, well, his whole character in that film is just hilarious. I won't kind of go into it too much because I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't seen it. But honestly and truthfully, it's just a brilliant film. And yeah, check it out because I really think that, you know, it's one of those brilliant films that kind of makes everyone feel really great. So I'm just having a look. I've got this fabric here that just happened to be kind of on my desk from a project I was kind of working on earlier. And I just thought actually that's going to go really nicely with this piece. So kind of laid them out roughly where I want them to go. Just going to take this little stamp here and just kind of, again, I don't necessarily need the whole thing on there. So I'm just going to kind of stamp it, you know, in part across the page like that. And then let's have a look here, see what I've got in my drawer. Got this stamp, which is really rather nice. It's kind of sheet music with script. So if I just show you how that looks. So we could kind of have a bit of that going on. So maybe a little bit here. And then maybe a bit over here in the corner. Maybe a bit more here. There we go. So really pretty, and that's just with my black stays on, which, you know, I just absolutely love. So I'm going to just pop this little rosebud on. So, you know, kind of basically you're just kind of cutting down your 12 by 12, finding any old bits and pieces, you know, the kind of leftovers from printables, you know, stamped pieces that you've got, things like that. And then you're just kind of working them in together to produce kind of some pretty kind of pieces there. So this is just a butterfly, which I've obviously kind of cut in half, and this is just the remainder of it. So again, we're just going to kind of pop that on here. It's funny because I never really kind of use yellows. I don't know why, it's not kind of an intentional thing, but it's actually really pretty. And yeah, I'm quite like the look of that yellow. It looks really pretty. So I'll shut up my drawer. Now I'm not sure whether I'm going to be able to use this fabric or not. So I shall just try and tear a little piece from it. Let's hope I'm tearing in the, you know, the line of the fabric, rather than have it kind of just taper off to nothing, which sometimes does obviously happen. Oh, come on. Come on. Right. I'm just trying to be a bit tidy and fold it back up and kind of put it to one side. There is a temptation to just kind of sling it to the side, but obviously then it's just in my way completely. So could kind of have that up there. And then let's just have a look. Because obviously it wouldn't be one of my things if it didn't have a little bit of bling somewhere. So I don't know whether this fabric might turn out to be a little bit, you know, what I would call kind of country style to have with the bling. So let's just check that out and see. Oops. Not sure actually. I mean, I guess really what we could do is, you know, kind of, or, you know, what would be nice is to have something like this as a ruffle kind of down the side of the page. So perhaps we will leave this fabric for a moment. Let me find some lace that might be nice kind of on this piece instead. Right, before I do that, let's rough up the edges of this. Let's make this look really super grungy kind of thing. Oh, actually, I've got a new ink pad, which I've talked about in another video actually, but that video is to upload over the summer, so you'll hear me saying it's new in a few weeks and think, that's not new at all. But it was the one that I had been waiting for. So this is called Wild Honey, and can you see that? It's a kind of goldy kind of colour. Really nice colour. So I'm just going to go around the edges, I think, with that, because that obviously kind of is really good with the yellow of that card. Like that. Now my daughter said that she wants to go to a dance class today. So it's one just, you know, near our house that she's never been to before, and I've said to her for a few weeks, did she want to go and give it a try, and she hasn't wanted to so far. She said she wanted to go, but each time she says, oh, I do want to go, but not today. So we'll see whether she actually kind of makes it today or not. Hopefully she will, because I think she will have fun, and you know, we'll like going there. Now I've got some vintage stamps here, so we could kind of incorporate a little vintage stamp. To check whether that's the right way up or not. Well, that's quite nice, isn't it? Could have that there. So let's just pop that on. Okay, right. Let me try and get some lace, I think, to run across the top. Bear with me for 2 seconds, folks. I'm just grabbing some lace from my little stash here. So, okay, right. So I've got a couple of different types here, but they're both in an ivory colour, so quite nice and kind of delicate. So that's quite nice, isn't it? And then we can obviously have a bit of bling across there. So I like how that looks. Now you have to excuse the back of this. This is obviously where I've been kind of double printing, you know. It's, and I've said this a billion times, I know, but you know, kind of while I'm trying to get my kits just kind of right, I'm obviously kind of printing them out numerous times whilst working on them. So that's why, you know, there's often kind of bits on the back of my pages. Right. So that's that. And then we're going to just glue this down. Still persevering with this fabric glue. Again, this may be really topsy-turvy because, you know, I'm not sure about the order of the videos, so this may be the first time I've actually used this glue. You know, in the uploaded videos, it's, you know, it has been used in other videos, but I'm not sure about my upload order because I'm doing some videos condensed for uploading over the summer, so you know, they may be quite out of sync by the time I'm kind of loading them. Now I'm wondering whether I need to actually kind of distress ink this with the vintage photo as well. So I might just kind of have a look and see how that would look. Let's just try a bit here. I mean, actually my vintage photo is not particularly juicy anymore, so it's not kind of having a really diabolical kind of impact. So I think we can kind of go for it. I didn't want it kind of looking really, you know, brown compared to kind of my other pieces. So that's that. Then I'm going to cut this down, just like into a 3. And I'm just going to pop that there. Oops. Hopefully that's kind of stuck down. Oh. I'm just going to stick that down under there with the hot glue. I'll just do that again at the edge just so it's properly kind of stuck down. Okay, so that's our first kind of piece that, you know, I would use that as kind of like a little pocket or a tuck spot just glued onto a page. So, you know, really cute, and, you know, just looks really kind of pretty. Obviously you could embellish that further, you could pop on some little flowers or anything. You know, I personally don't think it kind of necessarily needs anything else, but just if you felt it was kind of lacking anything, you could always kind of, you know, pop something else on. I'll just have a look. Let's just ink this butterfly up, kind of doing a bit of that wild honey kind of on the edge, I think. Just like that. And then we'll do a bit of the vintage photo, kind of going over on the inside as well. No wonder I end up with ink all over my hands. Can you see what I'm doing? Just inking it up with my fingers. So yeah, not great, not very good really, but never mind. We could have a butterfly there. It's maybe a bit too massive, so let me just see whether I have any smaller ones here to the side. Got some words, could have a little word on there. Again, let's try and ink that up a bit. Oh, that's quite nice, isn't it? I wonder if we should have some of that on the fabric. No, that's a bit folksy, that fabric, now, kind of in hindsight, so I don't think we will. So let's just pop that onto that lace. Okay. I'm just going to kind of pop that on there, I think. So, and I'll just use the hot glue, you know, then it's nice and quick and instant, and I'm not having to kind of wait around for it to dry on there. Right, so that's our first kind of piece, whoops, done, to pop into a page. So really cute. Let me check how much time I've used so far. Can't actually see, 29 minutes, I think that said. Right, so that's the first piece. I'm going to pop that kind of on the side, and we'll work on the second piece now. So, you know, obviously, again, we're just kind of making just pieces, just using this 12 by 12 sheet. So, you know, it's just kind of a great way to make a kit that kind of your basis is then going to kind of all be matching. So even if kind of your topper pieces, you know, i.e. these pieces on the top, even if they're not matching, your kind of base is going to be predominantly the same kind of colours, which, you know, that's really kind of nice. I mean, I like my matchy things, so, you know, for me that's quite a kind of good way to kind of get that effect. So On this one, I might just pop one of the cigarette cards. Like that. Okay. And then let's have a look and see what else we've got here to the side. Now, I've got one of these, which we could have. I've got this, which perhaps we could have that there. Well, that's quite nice, isn't it? And then we could just kind of have a couple of tickets or something kind of behind. Got a little postmark, which we could have that there. Possibly a little ticket or something here. I quite like that. We could have that kind of stamp there. Yeah, I quite like that, I think. So let's just double check. Okay, let's go for that. I'm really trying not to overthink this and just, you know, get on with things without kind of dilly-dallying too much around, because, you know, I know that that's obviously pretty boring to watch. Right, so I'm using this stamp here, which I've talked about this stamp before, I know, and I absolutely love this. Oops, nearly stamped in bright blue. Have to be careful when opening the stays on, that obviously from the back they all look the same, other than the very small letters which say the colour. So I need to be a bit aware. That's why it sometimes does help to kind of stamp them first, to kind of check how they're coming out. So I'm going to stamp this, I think, over here. Like that. Just bring this back here, like that. And then I might just do another bit of that script. The script and the sheet music, maybe just there, maybe even a bit down here, maybe a bit there. Okay, so just kind of randomly stamping that around. So if we just kind of place these roughly where we want them. Like that, like that, like that, I think. Okay, yep, I quite like that. So I'm going to start, I think, by just inking up a couple of these pieces which are quite white. So this obviously has been printed onto kind of white paper. So I just want to kind of grunge that up a little bit, because obviously it looks very white. Okay, and we'll do this piece here, which is just a little stamped ticket. I think these are the Tim Holtz tickets, which are really cute. And then I might just ink this one up a little bit. This is just a piece from my very vintage kit. Then we've got obviously a vintage postage stamp, and then a little stamped postmark stamp. So we'll just pop these down. I quite like that kind of overhanging that, if that makes sense. So when I glue that down, I'm going to just glue it, I think, like this. And then I'll kind of tuck those edges behind in a moment. So just kind of do that. Oops. Oops. And then we'll just pop that down like that. And then just going to lift that little corner up and glue there. Lift this little corner up and glue just there. Just so it's kind of stuck down on every corner then. And we've got our postage stamp and our stamp postmark. And we just pop those like that. I'll just ink that one up a little bit. I mean, this is actually stamped onto coffee dyed. Oh, maybe not. I thought it was stamped onto coffee dyed cardstock, but actually I think it's stamped onto ivory kind of background page. There we go. And then we're going to have this one kind of here, I think. Yeah. So again, what I'm going to do actually is ink up the entire piece, you know, including the vintage postage stamp itself. Oops. Just so it looks nice and old. And then I will go around that with the wild honey, so it's kind of again tied in, you know, really nicely with the other kind of piece. It's a lovely colour, this wild honey. I've never bought it before, but it just kind of caught my eye on the website that I got it from. Just thought, ooh, it's a really striking kind of colour. So I can see it's going to be quite useful actually, because I've already used it a couple of times. So yeah, I think it's going to be a nice one that I'll be pleased I bought. Which is great, because sometimes you do buy things and think, oh gosh, why did I buy that? And that's very irritating, isn't it? So, yeah, always better when you're pleased with something. Right. So again, I'm just going to kind of finish this piece off with a little bit of lace. So, you know, just decide where you want it, whether, you know, you want it kind of at the top or the side. You know, what you think looks best. I actually quite like that one running down the side, so I think I'm just going to kind of pop it on there. Like that. Oops, get my tissue and just dab it again, like that. Oops, and then we'll just cut that off. I like to just leave it slightly overhanging rather than be flush with the edge of the piece. And then this ticket, again, I'm just going to kind of pop this ticket, I think, on some lace somewhere. I feel like this corner is a little bit bare, so that's probably a little bit big. Well, that's annoying. This, or perhaps I'll pop that on there actually. So again, this is just from some of my die cut printables, but it's just one of those handy kinds of things that, again, you know, when I use it, I don't tend to use it as this long piece in its entirety. I just quite like cutting it down and just using a chunk of it. You know, I think that looks just quite cool like that. So just glue that down like that. Okay, and then the final piece is that ticket, which I'm just wondering whether we want to have that on lace. So let me just kind of cut it off with a bit of lace. Oops. And just all fingers and thumbs again. There we go. Right. So we could have that kind of here now. Or we could have it over here. Well, you know, we don't have to have that lace at all. I just think the lace is kind of, you know, just something a bit extra. So we'll just pop that on there. And again, I'm just going to glue it with the hot glue, because then it's just, you know, instantly stuck and we don't have to kind of be worrying about it sticking down. So that's that piece there. Just going to then pop a little bit of bling. So I've just got this piece that's already cut into a 3. So just grab that. So we could have that, whoops, under this little ticket. Or obviously we could have it to the side. We'll have it to the side. So, oops. Oh, very fiddly. I don't know why I'm making such a hash of holding this. Oh my gosh, what is going on with me? Don't know what was happening there, but for some reason I just really couldn't get a grip of that. Right, so we just pop that down just there, like that. Okay, so that's your second piece in your little kind of embellishment, you know, kit. So again, if I just turn this page over to I was going to say a clean side, but it's not particularly clean, but again, just to kind of show you and demonstrate how that would kind of look on a page. So again, you could have that as another kind of pocket or a little kind of flippy type piece. So that's your first two using your, you know, one sheet of 12 by 12 paper. So that's probably enough for now because I'm up to 40 minutes. So I'll probably have to come back to kind of do the other pieces that we've got here. So hopefully you'll join me again next time and we'll do some more. So thanks for watching then. Bye.